You are watching the DocTalk show. This message is from the Ministry of Health with support from partners.
For any country to attain fundamental development, its citizens must have control on the sizes of their families. Mothers should be empowered enough to decide when to be pregnant. This way, they can know how to spend their money, how to plan their families, and put their priorities right. Welcome to the DocTalk show. My name is Dr. Sechanzi Henry, and I'm here to discuss with you about a topic that's very fundamental in our setting of contraception. This program is brought to you by Camilla and Men's Collection, as well as the Ministry of Health. To discuss this very important topic in our setting, I'm joined by a group of doctors, very passionate about this topic. I'll request them to mention their name, and then we shall go right into our topic. Yes, Dr. Ivan.
Hello, my name is Dr. Kamara Ivan, medical doctor. Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Sechanzi. My name is Dr. Rogers Senyonzio. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, doctors, for sparing time to come and share with us on this very important topic. Now, contraception, to somebody who is hearing this for the first time, what should come in their mind? Maybe if I'm to start with you, Dr. Kamara. Contraception, what does it mean?
So contraception are the methods that we use to prevent pregnancy. So contraception works by interfering with the process of pregnancy. So we have with pregnancy, we know that it's a process. On the female end, there is the production of an egg, ovulation. There's the release of the egg, ovulation, and then the egg moves, the ovum moves to the fallopian tubes and the uterus. Then on the male side, we have the production of sperm, and sperm also moving through the female reproductive tract. And then we have them meeting in the uterus and an embryo forming. So contraception will either prevent ovulation, to prevent the egg from being released, or it can prevent sperm from finding its way into the reproductive tract, into the uterus to meet the egg, or it can prevent the egg and the sperm from meeting, fertilization from taking place, and implanting. So contraception covers all those areas. There are some methods that prevent ovulation, some methods prevent the sperm from meeting the egg, and some methods prevent fertilization and implantation.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kamara, for giving us an overview of what exactly happens. Actually, one of the things you've highlighted of the egg coming every month, realize that I think in the way God designed us, every month an egg comes, and should there be fertilization, someone can become pregnant. Likewise, for males, at any time you can make someone pregnant. So this means that we could actually produce as many children as possible if there's nothing like contraception. Maybe I'll ask you, Dr. Rogers, at this point. So why is it important for us to know about contraception? How important is it to our people out there?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sechanzi. Now, before I go into that, actually, our people need to understand the difference between contraception and family planning, whereby family planning, we are focusing on the couple being able to plan for their family. So the couple decides when they want to have children and how many children they want to have. So they look at the number of children and the spacing. Contraception, on the other hand, like Dr. Kamara has said, it is basically more of preventing the pregnancy from actually happening.
Okay.
And it's very crucial for the public to actually know about this, because knowledge is power to start with. Yeah. Knowledge is power. And when you're informed, when you know, you're actually empowered to make better decisions. You're empowered to make the right, appropriate decisions. A number of people out in the community, and they are actually carrying unintended pregnancies just because they lack the necessary information about this entire picture we are talking about. We are witnessing a number of unsafe abortions happening just because people got those unplanned pregnancies. So it is very critical to have the public understand this so that they know and are empowered to make the right decisions regarding their fertility and their having of children.
Okay. Yes. So yes, actually, family planning, I like the way that one is framed, because it's important. That is the importance of contraceptives, because contraceptives are used in family planning.
Exactly.
So sometimes these words are used interchangeably in our culture. Family planning, methods, contraceptives, people use them interchangeably, but they are related. As he's given, they are different, but they are related.
Okay.
So contraceptives are there to help you to plan your family.
Oh, awesome. So does this mean that contraception is part of family planning? Like family planning is a bigger thing and then contraception is just part of it?
Exactly.
Oh, awesome.
So a certain couple can decide to have 2 children, and maybe they're going to use a given method to have only those 2 children. Another couple will decide to have 10 because they can afford to look after them. So that is the family planning coming.
Awesome. Actually, I want us to talk about the statistics. For instance, how our fertility rates are, what is our unmet need. I'm sure Dr. Rogers is very, very well versed with that. But before you come to that, I want to ask a simple question to Dr. Kamara, the only female on the panel. So do you think male and females, or a boy child and a girl child, should they know about this in the same way? Does family planning or do these matters of sexual and reproductive health affect males and females the same way, or one gender is seemingly more affected than the other?
I believe both genders need this knowledge and this information, because when you're using contraceptives, when you're family planning, both are involved at the end of the day. So both need this information, because both should be involved in this. Of course, we have our social context where in the past maybe there has been a disproportionate emphasis on the female contraceptives versus the male contraceptives, because if you're looking at the facts, we do have more female contraceptives. More contraceptives are geared towards the females than they are geared towards the male. But I think that is just evolution of medicine. So it so happens that way. But I believe both males, females should be involved, should get this knowledge.
I mean, you all need this information, because still the girls don't get pregnant by themselves. So we need to empower the boys as well, so that they know what to do, and that way we shall as well protect the girl child.
Yes, and you actually need support to use some of these methods. Some of these methods require some form of support, maybe psychologically or mentally, which let's say the male partner, for instance, would be very good at providing. Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much for that. Dr. Rogers, tell us about the statistics. How are we standing? How common is it to have teenage pregnancies in our setting? What is our fertility rate? How are our statistics running right now?
Thank you, Dr. Sachans. As a country, we've made some strides in regards to accelerating access to family planning, but still we have a very long way to go. The journey is still huge. For instance, our fertility rate currently, as per the recent Uganda Demographic Health Survey of 2022, our fertility rate stands at 5.2. This means, on average, every Ugandan woman, the reproductive age, has 5.2 children. Maybe you can break that down further for us to understand what I'm talking about.
Yes. But it's a high figure, at least I can tell. 5 children is big. Yeah.
But I think we've come down, though. It used to be 7. We used to be at 7.
That's why I've said we've made strides, because it has come down actually, but still it is high, like you have said. Because when you go to our rural settings, how many families or how many couples are able to look after 5 children? That's the question.
Yes.
Yes, but that's where we stand in terms of fertility. When you look at the married couples, we have what we call total demand for family planning or for contraception. And among the married couples, or the married women, this stands at 66%. So of all the married women, 66% need family planning or contraception. And of these, 24% actually have unmet need. So they don't have access to what we are talking about.
By this, does it mean they need but they cannot get?
Exactly. That's what we are talking about.
Okay.
And still, this is worse in the sexually active unmarried women, because for them, their unmet need stands at 38%. So that 8 is quite a huge number. Yeah. This means they need it, but they can't access it. Another thing I want to talk about briefly is the teenage pregnancy. When you look at the young girls, the teenage girls between the age of 15 to 19, the teenage pregnancy stands at 24%. Okay, that means of all the 100 girls you meet, 24 are actually pregnant. Yeah, so I can't say we've made some strides, but just like you've heard, we still have a long way to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. I hope you're enjoying this show like I'm enjoying it. I mean, doctors here have broken this topic very well for us. They have told us what family planning is, contraceptives, what the statistics are, and what a toll of a problem this has on our setting. We are going to take a short break, and we shall be right back to talk more about contraception and family planning. Stay tuned on the DocTalk show.
This message is from the Ministry of Health with support from partners.
Since 2015, Quiz Mali Production has been at the forefront of media innovation. Our passion for storytelling and creativity has driven us to deliver over 100 successful projects, making a lasting impact on the industry. With 4 highly acclaimed TV shows, we've become a household name, bringing quality content to your screens. At Quiz Mali Production, we specialize in content creation, digital media marketing, media buying, and documentaries. We plan corporate events, provide top-notch photography and videography services, and offer seamless translations and live streams for your every need. Join the hundreds of satisfied clients who trust us to bring their visions to life. Quiz Mali Production, your partner in media excellence. Visit us at Quiz Mali and let's create something amazing together.
You are watching the DocTalk show. This message is from the Ministry of Health with support from partners.
Welcome back from that short break. We are still at the DocTalk show where we talk about very, very important issues that are very important to us and our families. Today we are talking about contraceptives, and the first segment we've seen what this means, what a problem is and the burden, and you're going to continue. But before that, I want to remind you that this program is brought to you by the Ministry of Health as long as with the Cameline Means Collection. Now, doctors, I want us to talk about the different family planning methods that are there. Start with you, Dr. Ivan. So what are some of the different methods of family planning contraceptives?
Okay, Rogers is going to go in depth in that one, but I'm going to give an outline. So when we have contraceptive methods, we have what we call the barrier methods, and those ones typically they stop the egg and the sperm from meeting.
Okay.
Barrier methods meaning it's like a physical barrier. So that's where we have like condoms and things that are physical barriers. And then we have what we call the hormonal methods. The hormonal methods are these are medications, hormonal medications that the female takes to interfere with the process of ovulation and the process of ovulation. So we have the barrier methods, the hormonal methods, and then we also have the permanent methods where they are usually surgical. So where you have your tubes ligated or you have vasectomy done. Okay. And these ones stop you from, they can stop you from getting pregnant for the rest of your life. Okay. Yes, so but Rogers will go more in depth on the different methods.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kamara. You've classified them well. I could go ahead to break them down into short-term,
okay,
long-term, and permanent. Like we've talked about the permanent. So short-term, these are methods we use for a short period of time. And then long-term, they are given for a longer period. And then permanent, just the way the word goes, permanent. So just to talk about a few of them, just a little bit in details, just what is necessary. To start with the short-term methods, short-term we have methods, still we have the hormonal, like you said, and the non-hormonal. And among the non-hormonal, we have things like the barrier methods. That's why she talked about things like the condom. This one is very common, and I'm pretty sure everyone knows about a condom. Though, most people don't know how to use them. So I think we should have another talk show to talk about how to use these methods. Yes, but the condom is actually very important and very effective at preventing pregnancy if it is used correctly and consistently. Okay. And by consistently, I mean every time you're engaging in a sexual act. Then we also have others. We also have a female condom. Most people know only the male condom. We have others like the diaphragm. Some of those methods are not so common. Like you might not find them so much in the pharmacies or drug shops, unless if you go to a specific family planning clinics, where you can be able to access some of them. Still in the short term, we have some hormonal methods. For example, the pills. we have the emergency pills, we have the combined oral contraceptives, and the progesterone-only pills. Now, these pills have hormones in them, and you take them particularly to alter a little bit in your hormonal system so that it can interfere with the normal process that would cause the pregnancy. Okay. Still in the short term, we have the injectables. You've heard about things like Depo-Provera, Cyanopress. We use them. These ones are basically for 3 months. Every 3 months, you're going to get an injection. For the pills, you use them every day. For the non-emergence, and for the emergence, you only use it after you've had sex, which is unprotected. Okay. Then among the long term, we have methods like implants. Now, implants still the hormonal methods, and if most women know about that method they put here on the arm. So basically, it is put here and it has hormones that are going to still interfere with the normal process of conception. And the beauty with this is that we have some for 3 years and for 5 years. So depending on your reproductive choices.
Would those qualify to be long term, like 3 years, 5 years?
Yes, those are long term.
Okay.
Those are long term.
Okay.
Yes, so you can use it for 3 years or 5 years. And still in the long term, we have the non-hormonal, which is the IUD. Now for the IUD, that's the copper. Okay, the IUD is inserted in the uterus, and this works for a period of up to 12 years. So a woman can have it and they do not conceive up to 12 years. We also have an IUD which is hormonal, which can be inserted and can be used up to 6 years. Now, the beauty with these long-term methods is that fertility returns the moment it is removed. So in case, let me say you put a method for 5 years and you want to conceive within 2 years, you can go and have this method removed. And among the permanent now, that's where we have, there are two, for the men and for the women. She talked about them. A vasectomy for the men. A vasectomy involves cutting of the tubes that transport the sperms from a man's testes. Okay, so we cut them. This does not interfere with a man's stamina.
Manhood.
You remain a man. Okay,
yes.
So it is only interfering with the sperms moving from the testes upwards. For the women or for the ladies, we have what we call the, remind me?
The tubal ligation?
Tubal ligation, yes. The bilateral tubal ligation. Still, this involves cutting the tubes, the two fallopian tubes that transport the egg from the ovaries to meet with the sperm. Now, Dr. Sechyans and Dr. Kamara, some of the side effects you would experience with these methods, they are actually a little bit of general. You will find that the effects for the hormonal methods are mostly the same. For example, a person using an implant will experience some issues around their periods. So maybe someone will have a little bit of irregular bleeding. Some ladies have reported no periods for a period of, let me say, up to a year. Okay, after using this method. And then others would report a little bit of too much bleeding, heavier than usual. This applies even to the short term, that is the injectables and the pills. The beauty with this is these side effects are usually short-lived. So once you get the method, we're expecting them. So during the counseling, we tell you we're expecting them, but within a few months, they actually resolve because your body gets used to the new environment. And even if they persist, we can actually manage you to make sure that you're able to use the method without having any serious issues.
Okay.
Yes. For things like the IUD, still we are very, very critical during the counseling process to tell you what to expect. You might experience a little bit of heavy flow in the first few months. You might experience a little bit of much pain or heavier cramping than usual the first few months. But like I said, still these are short-lived and they resolve within a few months. Okay. For the permanent methods, Dr. Kamara, I don't know, what do you think about men? Because I feel like men we have very limited options, and we're leaving the burden to our counterparts.
Yes. I totally agree there. I think the options are limited, and I hope the scientists around the world are working on this. Some people have rumors that they are working on a hormonal male contraceptive.
Yes.
So I don't know how far that will go, but yes, men have limited options. It's either the barrier method or the permanent vasectomy. But all in all, because it's a joint, because contraceptive use and family planning is more of a joint venture, so I think it is still fine that that the methods available are still fine, as long as we can get more on board. Actually, I feel what we need maybe would be to get men more involved in the use of the female methods of contraception. Yes. But there's something about when we talk about these methods, so there are some with very high success rates. There are some with, so they have different success rates, or should I say, they have different rates of, they have different effectiveness and the chances, let's say the chances that you could fall pregnant, even while using this contraceptive, are there, though very minuscule, but the chances exist for different methods. So there's also that crossed my mind. And one of the methods that has one of the highest success rates, interestingly, though it doesn't seem to be popular here, and it has also a few side effects, is the IUD. It has a very high, I think maybe you will remind us of the figure if you know. I think it's
around 99% effective.
Around 99% effective, meaning that when you're using the IUD, the chances that you can fall pregnant with an IUD in place are very, very small compared to the chances that you could fall pregnant while swallowing the pill daily. There are so many rooms for error with that pill. You might miss, you might forget to take the pill, you may take it badly, you may run out of resources to buy it, you may be, you may be far away access, and yet with the IUD is said to be one of the best methods in terms of safety and effectiveness.
True.
Yes.
Dr. Sachans, I have an interesting fact. The number of men coming out for vasectomy is shooting so high of late.
Awesome.
Every week I do at least 2 vasectomies per week.
Yes.
Actually, I have one scheduled in 2 days from now. like you said, men have very limited options. You're either abstaining, you're being faithful, you're using a condom, or you come for a vasectomy. So if you're a man and you're sure that you're done with your family, you don't want any more children,
family is complete.
It's complete. So we actually encourage a vasectomy. It is also for the good of you, your family, and also your madam.
And your finances.
You have a point.
School fees is around the corner, and I mean, I feel like for any family, you should be able to decide on when to be pregnant, how many children to have, and how you're going to raise them. That way, we can raise very good families, and we can support our nation develop much more. Thank you very much. I know the commercial is very interesting, but you need to take a break. We are going to be right back and continue.
There's a common name on social media that says that for a vasectomy to be effective, you need to tell your partner.
Actually,
we shall be right back.
You are watching the DocTalk Show. This message is from the Ministry of Health with support from partners. You are watching the DocTalk Show. This message is from the Ministry of Health with support from partners.
Welcome back from that short commercial break. We're still continuing the DocTalk Show, and we are discussing very, very important issues here, and I hope you're enjoying the show. I just want to remind you that this program is brought to you by the Ministry of Health, as long as the Cameline Men's Collection. If you have any feedback or you have any questions, our toll-free numbers are right on the screen. Feel free, call and ask your question or give us your feedback. We shall be happy to receive it. Now, I want to continue with my doctors here. So maybe I'll start with you, Dr. Rogers. Are there natural family planning methods? And if they are there, do they have any benefits? Do they have any pros or cons? Maybe you could tell us about those.
Thank you, Dr. Sechanzi. Now, before we went for the break, we talked about some methods. What we talked about is what we call the modern contraception or the modern methods. But we also have the traditional or the natural methods. And yes, like you asked, they are there. But I need to be very clear on this point that before someone chooses to use a natural method of contraception, they need to be sure about certain things on their body. If, for example, you're a lady, there's some things you need to be sure about before you choose to use any given method. Just to break them down for you, some of the examples, we have things like lactational amenorrhea.
Yes.
The lady who is breastfeeding can use that as a contraceptive method.
Mm.
We have what we call the fertility awareness methods.
Mm.
Some people use what we call the moon beads. I don't know if our viewers have seen them.
Mm.
Some people use the calendars. I've seen of late ladies are carrying calendars on their phones.
Oh.
They keep monitoring their cycle.
Yes,
Yeah.
now we have period tracking apps.
Mm.
We have
Mm.
all apps to monitor your cycle.
Yeah,
So
sure. Yes, so those fertility awareness methods are very, very important.
Mm.
And it's not just about tracking the days of your cycle. There are also some other body changes that take place throughout that entire cycle of a woman, which you can use to know that someone is now either fertile or someone is actually not fertile. Now, before you opt for a fertility awareness method, let me start with that. One, you need to be sure about your cycle.
Okay.
Yes. So there are some ladies who are having what we call irregular cycles. Now, to talk about what a cycle means, some people tend to tend to confuse periods and a cycle.
Okay.
So you ask someone, how many days is your cycle? And someone says 3 days. But what they're actually referring to is the number of days they menstruate for, you know. So a cycle, that is the period from the first day that you see your blood until when you until when that period when you see your next period. So you have your period, you start today, it lasts for 3 days, then you keep counting until when you will see another period
Starting
coming
the
in.
first day,
The
not when
first-
it ends.
Yes, the first day.
Okay.
So that's what we call a cycle.
Okay.
The average cycle is usually around 28 days. But you'll find that some people, today she'll go in for 28 days. The next month, she'll go in for 20 days. Then the other month, she'll have 19. And then the other month, 32. So such a person has what we call irregular cycle. And you cannot easily track to know when their fertility period is going to come in. Okay? They can ovulate anytime. So that means the fertility awareness methods and the calendars. Please, if you have such that kind of a cycle and you had a calendar in your phone, delete it because
It's very
conceive when you're not ready for it. Okay? Yes. But they're actually very effective if someone has what we call a regular cycle, and that means their cycle follows the same pattern. 28 days, 28 days. You can easily know that someone will be ovulating in this period, and then you can know what are the safe days, when to engage into an act, and then when to avoid. Those are the unsafe days. I might not take you into calculating these days. It might be a longer.
Shall get another show and do that.
Yes.
Actually.
But like Dr. Kamara said, they now have the calendars to track their periods. So, but those calendars need to be very careful with them because there are some which are fake. I had a client, and when we use the one that she pays for, it gives different information from the one that is free. So you need to be very careful if you're using those apps. Now, for lactation amenorrhea, that is someone who is breastfeeding.
Yes.
We recommend it as a method of contraception for someone who is exclusively breastfeeding. And exclusively, it means you're not giving in any other thing to your baby. Okay? So it is usually effective within the first 6 months because that's when most people are actually doing that exclusive breastfeeding.
Okay.
In case you're not doing so, you might actually be surprised. And this is because usually breastfeeding brings in a negative feedback
To
the hormones that are responsible for fertility. Yeah, so it is very important to actually understand that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. I don't know if Dr. Kamara has any other natural methods that she would talk about, apart from the moon beads, the counting of the days, fertility monitoring. Is there any other?
I think those are the natural methods. Or natural methods, of course, one of the loopholes is the partner because you still have to get that your partner on board to use that natural method. I once had a story of one partner who would go and interfere with the order of the beads actually because there's a way they are ordered to keep you safe and you keep moving one and so now you go and move like 3 in advance to quicken the safe day, to bring forward the safe period when it's not yet arrived. So anyway, there are also some social and cultural.
Dr. Kamara, before you go into that, one last one, withdraw. We are going to talk about withdraw.
Yes.
And this is a very common method that is being used, and it is giving people a lot of problems. So for men usually are like, you know what, babe, we master this game. Yeah, my boy.
Things refused.
Things refused. So before you actually opt for this method, you need to be very careful and make sure that you're good at it. Because many people have been disappointed by this method.
Okay.
It is very common, and people don't actually know how to do it. They don't know how to time themselves at that point of climaxing. So it is very important to know yourself and only going for it if you're sure. Because its success rate is around 70%. So there's a 30% chance that someone will actually mess up.
And that is quite big.
Yeah.
Awesome. Very interesting conversation here, and I hope you're enjoying it. Dr. Cameron, we started on the social, cultural, religious aspects of family planning. I understand that maybe some religions are opposed to some methods, even some cultures. Maybe you could tell us your experience about this.
I'll start with the social, some of the social components of this. So, like we know, contraceptive is supposed to be a joint venture. However, because of certain things, certain cultures we have, we may find there's some dysynchrony, whereby maybe, for example, there's something we call bodily autonomy, where as a woman, you do have the right to decide what to do with your health, because contraceptive is part of your health. It's part of your reproductive health. So a lady can decide, for me, I these are the only children I want to go on contraceptives. But then the partner is not on board. So now she starts taking contraceptives secretly, okay, without the partner's knowledge. So she's on contraceptives and the partner doesn't know. Or vice versa. The male partner may say, I don't want any more children, but the lady says she's taking contraceptives, yet she's not. So there are so many social aspects that come into this. Of course, ideally, we advise that you get your partner on board for everyone's good, for that support, for that harmony. Yes, but you know there is that as well. Now, on that point, legally, a woman does have a right, a female or male does have a right to go and get a contraceptive on their own. They don't have to ask permission. I mean, they are the only ones that need to consent. If you go to the hospital and ask for a contraceptive, you as Rogers, you are allowed legally to consent for that contraceptive yourself. They will not say, what does your wife say? They can only advise you to talk to her about it. So similarly for me, if I walk into a hospital and I say, I would like to have an IUD placed, or I can consent for that. They are not going to say, we won't give you that IUD because your husband does not agree. They will give it to you. But however, they will say it is highly, highly advisable that you get him on board, or you let him know that about this. So there's that. And then when it comes to religion, we have certain issues that may be also they interlap with some of the misconceptions concerning contraceptives. For example, there are some people that believe some contraceptive methods are not acceptable to them because they believe that contraceptive is interfering with a life, an embryo that has already formed, and that is a life. However, I want to say that a lot of these methods actually come in before the embryo forms. So you're not killing off a live embryo. You're not killing off an embryo that has formed. A lot of them, even the emergency contraceptive, by the way, which you take after you've had sexual intercourse, accidental sexual intercourse, and you want to interfere, most of those also interfere with ovulation if it hasn't occurred.
Actually, doctor,
so apart
it's
from
not a lot of them, all of them.
all of them, yes. In fact, it's only the actual intentional termination of pregnancy that you could call interfering with a life. But all these other methods actually come in before the egg and the sperm have met.
That's right.
Wow, very interesting conversation. This is a conversation I wouldn't want to end. I wish we could continue and over because it's very, very interesting. And I'm sure our viewers out there are enjoying it. We are about to take a short break, but I remind you that this show is brought to you by Ministry of Health as well as the Camera and Means Collection. We're going to take a short break and we shall be back or tell you more about these contraceptives. What are some of the myths and misconceptions? How does someone choose a right method for them? This and much more are coming in the next episode. Stay tuned to the DocTalk Show.
You are watching the DocTalk Show. This message is from the Ministry of Health with support from partners.
Crafted with precision, designed for brilliance. Supreme Wave pens reach the hands that shape tomorrow. Only a Supreme Wave delivers expression this pure. In every stroke, confidence flows. Because greatness isn't guessed, it's written. Supreme Wave, write your future.
You are watching the DocTalk Show. This message is from the Ministry of Health with support from partners.
Welcome back from that short commercial break. We are continuing with the DocTalk Show every Thursday at 9 p.m. on UBC. Be there for the DocTalk Show. We're talking about contraception, and as you've heard the conversation, we've talked about the different methods, what are the social, cultural factors in our settings. We've seen how our statistics are. And now we want to look at the choice. How does somebody choose a family planning method that would work for them? How do we make these choices? And to tackle that, I'll ask Dr. Kamara to tell us about the choice. How do we choose the family planning that works best for us?
When you go to the health facility to get a family planning method or a contraceptive method, so you're counseled on the different types of methods. So you're given information on the different types available, their side effects, and what their effectiveness. And then you also put into consideration within that counseling, they also put into consideration your current family status, whether you have a family, you've never had a family, or you have one, your future plans for having a family. Do you still plan on having children? Are you done with having children? And then your partner, and then your personal preference.
Okay.
So all in all, it boils down to your personal preference and situation.
Okay.
So we always advise people to pick a method according to their personal preference, what you prefer, what you're more comfortable with, what you can use consistently. You put all that in. So we don't like to maybe force people to use methods that they don't like. So what you need to know is that every method is actually available for everyone almost. Any method can be used by anyone. So it comes down to your circumstances.
Okay.
Yes, and how effective they are. So, for example, if let's say you've never had a family before, you've never had children before, but you're sexually active, you look at the several methods. You can use any of the methods. So you pick the one that you're going to use comfortably and consistently. So you can use the oral contraceptive pill, the one that you take daily. You can use the injection, you can use the IUD. Now, the concerns some people have with this, especially those who've never had children, there is a fear that they may become infertile. Someone fears that if I use this contraceptive method, what happens when I eventually finally want to start a family? Will it interfere? Will it have interfered with my body and make me unable to have a family? But most of these methods, they do not cause infertility. You can still use the pill. When you stop, your fertility will return. The catch here is that for different methods, you take different lengths of time to return to your normal levels of fertility. So that's what some ladies don't know, is that you have your natural levels of fertility. So some people don't even know that they, for example, someone may not know that they are not maybe fertile. They don't know their normal levels of fertility. So they use a contraceptive method and they think this method is what made me fail to conceive.
Probably it's something else.
It is something else. There's that. But then there are also some you take, especially the hormonal methods, you will take a longer time to come back to your natural levels of fertility. So let's say you take the Depo-Provera, you have it implanted, the implant. Then when you take it out, it may take you like 1 to 6 months, may take you 6 months to come back to normal. So that's in that time that some ladies may feel that they may get that stress. They may feel like this thing has interfered with me, or that. So it's more common with the hormonal methods. But with the barrier methods, with the IUDs, the intrauterine devices, this is another method. The intrauterine device is very good. One of its biggest advantages is that fertility returns almost immediately you take it out. That's one of its biggest pros. If you're to look at pros and cons, one of the pros, you immediately go back to your normal fertility.
Actually, even effectiveness starts immediately. It is inserted.
Yes, actually,
like the hormonal methods.
Exactly.
And it's even high effectiveness. You told us 98?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, so the hormonal methods, you'll take a while. They'll even advise you to use barrier methods. For the first month that you're on a hormonal method, they'll advise you to still protect yourself in another way until it kicks in. Whereas an IUD, immediately you insert it, you will not be fertile, and immediately you take it out, you'll be fertile. But anyway, back to choosing a method. So counseling is supposed to be done, and I think here that's where many people maybe face a challenge. People are not counseled maybe very well, so they come out of the health facility not knowing all their options, not knowing the advantages and disadvantages of each, not being reassured. Then there's the partner. Their partner has not also been brought on board. So they live with all those fears and questions and end up either choosing a method that's not the best for them, or not choosing any at all, and are feeling helpless. So counseling is very important in choosing a contraceptive method, looking at the pros, the cons, and being reassured. Yes.
I mean, Dr. Kamala, you raise a very important point that people should be given as much information as they need, so that they make informed choices on the family planning that they feel would work for them. It's actually possible that one method might not work for you, but another method will be excellent for you. So it's always important that our patients get as much information as possible, or the counseling that they need, so that they make informed decisions.
In fact, Dr. Sechans, on that, there are actually some patients who might not be eligible to use a given method because maybe they have a pre-existing condition that makes that method unsafe for them. So usually the health workers have what we call the medical eligibility criteria that they also take you through to see which method is actually safe for you. For example, a person who is, let me say, a woman who is diabetic might not be recommended to use hormonal methods if their sugar levels are not well controlled. The same applies to someone who is hypertensive, for example. So there are two options. Either you opt for another method, like an IUD, or you first control your sugars or your blood pressure. And this applies to all methods. There are different conditions under which they are contraindicated. But we use what we call the medical eligibility criteria. There's a wheel that we use, and then we choose what is in your preference, but also safe for you.
Okay.
Yes, I wanted to add on that.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Doctor, for that. At this point, I want to bring in a very important aspect, Dr. Rogers. Yes, we've seen these family planning methods, and we are well aware that much as they are there, seemingly our access to them is not that high. So where could the problem be?
Thank you very much, Dr. Sechans. Now, the truth is, like I said, the government has tried and we've made some bit of we've attained some milestones, but there's still a challenge. Access is a big thing because it brings in the barriers to accessing these methods. And it can be categorized in different ways. But I'll just outline a few things that are actually causing lack of access to these methods. The first one being stigma. There's a lot of stigma that is associated with family planning and contraception as a whole. This stigma comes from us, the users, but also the health workers. You find that when a young person, for example, age of 16, is sexually active, but he goes to get a method, most likely they will be stigmatized by the health worker. You're still young, why are you conceiving? Why are you using family planning? You get? And then this brings in now the fear. Also, another point is the fear that we get from our colleagues. You find that maybe someone has ever used a method in the community and maybe she got some side effects and they were not well managed. And now she's spreading the information to other colleagues about how family planning is bad, but also spreading the myths, telling people how it causes infertility, like Dr. Kamara said, how it causes cancer and many other things, which are actually wrong. But also, there are no friendly facilities to obtain these services. We usually advocate for youth-friendly services, for example, in health facilities. But you go to a public facility, for example, you find one nurse, one midwife, having a queue of over 30 people, and they don't have time to actually give information. Secondly, a young person is going to be afraid of sitting together with this 40-year-old to access family planning. So they will actually end up opting for the simpler option. Maybe they'll go by an emergency, of which they don't even have information on its use, and they end up messing up. But also, even affordability is still an issue. Many civil society organizations have tried to come in and government to make them readily available through outreaches, but they're not everywhere. And you find that where you have to buy them, they're a bit expensive. So affordability is also another important point. And lastly, still accessibility in terms of where to get them. So people don't know where to actually get them. You find that yes, at the facilities they are there, but people don't know. Secondly, the distance. By the way, especially in rural settings, people walk distance, like they walk long journeys to access health services. So someone who wants family planning might not have that zeal to move those long distances to actually get these methods where they can easily be accessed. Like I said, access is a big thing, but those are some of the factors that are causing failure to use these methods the way they're supposed to be used.
This is a very interesting topic. Dr. Rogers, as we conclude, what is your one last remark about this topic of family planning?
What I can say, Dr. Sachanzi, is family planning is wide and broad, and it's a very important topic, especially in our society.
Okay.
We are still in the middle class, middle income status, yes. And the number of people are unable to look after their families. So we usually encourage people, before you have that sex that you're going to have, are you sure you're ready for the outcomes? Are you sure you're ready for the baby that might be formed? And in case you're not, think twice and see if there's something you can do about it. And that's where contraception comes in, so that you only have children you're prepared for and you're able to take care of.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Dr. Kamara, your parting shot.
My parting shot is that whereas contraceptive is not only about your socioeconomic status, contraceptive use, family planning is about your health, it's about your reproductive health. So just like you care about the health of your other systems, you care about your cardiac health, you care about your mental health, you need to care about your reproductive health as well. You need to get knowledge on your reproductive health and make informed decisions on your reproductive health.
Awesome. Thank you very much, doctors and our audience, for being part of this DocTalk show. We believe we had something to learn, something that will impact you or your loved one. I won't add much. I just want to remind you that every Thursday at 9 p.m. we are right here with DocTalk show on UBC. Catch us next week. For now, have a good time and bye-bye.
This message is from the Ministry of Health with support from partners.